midst of all the greenlight and early access controversies on Steam, there came a racing simulator that was visually appealing, hyper-realistic, and had a feature list sim enthusiasts were excited to see. I bought into the early access, and they've now delivered a full release that they should be very proud of. Assetto Corsa may not be a name most people recognise in a sea of Forzas and Gran Turismos, but what they've done is pull off something quite outstanding. Assetto Corsa includes the game modes we've come to expect in a racer, with career, multiplayer and practice all present. The career mode is nothing special. Like most games, you start off with basic cars and you work your way up. This can actually be a little off-putting for some, especially if you've been playing around with faster cars first. If you start with a career, things will feel a lot more impressive as you work your way up. However, fanging a Pagani Zonda around the track first and then jumping into a Fiat Abarth to start off your career is more than a little underwhelming. While Assetto Corsa excels in some areas, the menus to get into multiplayer are rather counterintuitive. Like most games, you can select the amount of players, ping, type, etc. However, there's another tier of consideration called booking, which for the most part didn't even work for me. It's like queuing in a MOBA, but most of the servers available are locked. Once you've located a completely open server, the rest is relatively straightforward. You click to join and away you go. You'll then find that Assetto Corsa has another problem. There's very few people playing, and the ones that aren't the friendliest of players. Overall, it wasn't that enjoyable. This is mainly due to the issue that anyone can go do a hot lap at any time from the pits. So it's a cluster of cars going around the track all at different times, which would be great if it was only a small handful, but with 20 plus players it's just too much. I'd much prefer to see a server with 10 people and having to wait a couple of minutes for, say, a minimum of 4 drivers and racing normally. The practice mode called Drive in Assetto Corsa allows you to set up races the way you want, with the ability to select tracks, weather conditions, AI, and everything else you could expect to have control over. Unfortunately, Drive mode also makes the fact that the game uses 2 launches very apparent. You'll see one that will allow you to set the race up, and another before you race. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but in this day and age I'd expect a more seamless experience, so I would like to see that improved. The car collection in the base game isn't extensive, but it does cover a nice range of classes. At one end of the spectrum you have your hot hatch, thrilling, I know, and at the other you have the open-wheel F1 cars. Within each class there's not many entries, but you definitely get something for everything, and they're typically cars that excel at something like track day or drifting. Having said that, Kunos Simulazioni are still adding additional cars through DLC packs, which do come at a price. While the dollar amount is unfortunate, it is understandable. With licensed cars come, well, licensing costs. The current DLC offerings walk the margin of reasonably priced, with the Dream Pack costing you $15 and giving you 10 cars and the Nürburgring in return. So if you're an enthusiast, it may be worth it. Otherwise, there's probably enough content to keep most people satisfied. At its core, Assetto Corsa is a simulator. Because of this, the customization options are more geared towards altering a car's performance, rather than the car's aesthetics. The options are fairly in-depth, but not over the top. Parts or tweaks are coupled with explanations of what each change will do, from downforce changes to differential adjustments, and this really comes in handy for the different types of tracks and racing styles. One feature that I particularly like that's not too common is a completely customizable HUD. Most games will allow you to turn a couple of things off or switch the entire thing off completely. Assetto Corsa's HUD allows you to add, remove and rearrange elements however you want. For the sim enthusiast, this is a fantastic feature. The game looks fantastic, especially for something that had its genesis through early access. I don't usually expect something that can compete with AAA racing games, which says a lot. It looks great, and the additional filters can make it look even better depending on your personal preferences. However, with graphic fidelity comes higher system requirements, and Assetto Corsa can quickly require a powerful PC to get the most out of the engine. Nevertheless, the game still looks pretty good at lower settings, so full credit to the developers for that. While Assetto Corsa is largely aimed at people who enjoy simulations, it's still compatible with all the peripherals we've come to expect: keyboard, mouse, gamepad, etc. In saying that, it does feel most comfortable with a wheel. I've been having a blast with the Logitech G25. Assetto Corsa uses the G25's force feedback and vibration to their fullest extent and supports all of its extensions like the shifter and pedals. Some other games could really take note of this. There's plenty of steering wheels available, but they don't seem to utilise the full feature set. Granted, it's a big task, but that's what having a great community is for, getting feedback and putting it into effect, even if it is a niche brand wheel. Assetto Corsa supports what will hopefully become a robust and active modding community, allowing you to choose to be the creator, consumer, or a mixture of both. You can add in new cars such as the Ford Fiesta, new tracks such as the Top Gear test track, or a bus. It's worth mentioning there's not a lot of mods available at the current time, but what is available is pretty solid. The ones that I used were a lot better than I was expecting and relatively easy to install. Assetto Corsa stands up well against console exclusives Forza and Gran Turismo and caters for everyone from the casual enthusiast to the hardcore racer through its extensive settings. Being available on PC exclusively has inherent advantages in that there is a much wider range of peripherals to choose from, as well as making modding a breeze. While the hyper-realistic approach might not be for everyone, it's definitely worth checking out if you've been revving for an excuse to let your inner petrolhead take the wheel.